After a long time, guys, we're finally live. I know I said back on the previous stream I did a long time ago that would have been more consistent, but we're finally back. Oh, and I forgot to change the things to the stream. I am an idiot. Let's click that. Okay, there we go. Alright, everything is good. Not sure if everything's being picked up or not, but we will find out later, won't we? So we'll keep that there. Everything should be picking up now if... Okay, just setting a few more things up because it's... God, it's been way too long. Alrighty, I think that's all good there. Nice, nice, nice. Alright, okay, so I can officially say we're finally back. It's been so long. Currently just playing Starry Nights, a very niche game. May have not seen it before, but just how it is. Gonna close that there, because I can monitor this from here. There we go. Alrighty. As for the Terraria stuff that we did way back in the day, unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know what you'd like it to be, but we won't be continuing that anymore, because the reason I ended up recording them and even streaming them was for a mate, and we ended up playing and finishing that playthrough. So at this point, that will probably never continue, but as for the live streams and stuff like that, I'll try to be more consistent. I know I said this and the same thing 2 years ago, and it didn't really happen. But I plan to try to at least be live streaming consistently, maybe like once a week, if we are, you know, more cognizant of that. But yeah, in terms of the games we're going to be playing, we'll just be doing whatever, so if you have any suggestions, I may check it out and I may stream it, we'll never know. So yeah, it's just going to be in life. Life? What am I even saying? I don't even know, but it's just, we're going to play some games, do some random stuff in this. I have no real ideas for this stream being back after so long. Just here to play Starry Nights essentially, and that's about it. As for what this game is, it's not what it would be advertised as, because it's cool, or people like to say it's an MMO, but it's not really when you actually get to the main gameplay. It's more of just a team PvE thing, just clearing levels and stages and stuff. It's one of the only games that is like it, I will say. Oh, I'm lagging, that is fun. Oh yeah. It's nice to be back doing this again. If I feel or sound very scatterbrained, my brain is essentially kind of autopiloting at the moment, so it's not going to be the most coherent thing. But yeah. And it probably won't be the most entertaining stream either, because I do not have a clear focus on talking points or anything like that. Because back when we were doing the the Terraria playthrough, just looking at the next stages of the game and commentary, stuff like that, but this, I don't really have much to explain. This is one of the favorite stages for me and the majority of the player base, even though they've gotten tired of it. I still don't whenever I run this because it is so well designed. It's very much a stage where they kind of teach you as you play, as opposed to it gives you like the know-how on how to do things, and it's very much it introduces mechanics that you don't see in other stages without having to like tell you what they are. It's very much a watch and not be told. The gameplay teaches you itself without having to essentially explain itself, really. But yeah. I think I'm probably gonna go through like an arcade as well, just to get some variety stages in. This is really just a pilot, if anything, in terms of this stream. I don't have any idea what I'm gonna, what's that I'm gonna happen. I don't know if I'm gonna maybe switch games as well, midway through, if I end up getting bored or not. We'll see, we'll see. Alrighty. Hopefully in the future as well, I can have this better setup so well, obviously I'm not just randomly bumbling at the start of a stream to make sure everything is level. It took me a while to get everything set up and make sure everything was recording the same way, because at least with the VODs and stuff, it'll be easy to re-upload and whatnot. If any like audio and stuff is, you know, copyrighted or whatnot, make sure that is all taken care of when it comes to the VODs. Because I plan to upload these as VODs on the channel. The YouTube channel that we have going is probably just going to be a VOD channel. It's not going to be anything else nowadays. I mean, I'll do whatever series if need be, but I don't think it'll be a thing where we record it. Oh my god. Gotta love the Australian internet. Isn't that fun? I don't think I hit this up properly. Oh, never mind. Okay, I thought that was gonna be way worse. Weapons I'm using are pretty much inaccessible for the majority of the normal player base. Unless you either go spend or grind like crazy. But these are very fun to use, these mixes here. Unique gun that only is a one of one. Or, not one of one, because there's two, but there's only these two in the game and that's it. The Orbit. Or the Orbit. Is it just Orbit gun? I don't know. It's Celestial Orbit gun. I don't know why I couldn't think of the name. And the Overcharge and Mixmaster. I really can't think of anything to talk about. My brain has already been used up for the majority of this day. Yeah, just be running through some stages. Obviously, don't feel intimidated to chat or anything. I'm always down to keep an eye on the chat and stuff and commenting whenever needed. And that sort of stuff. Everybody is welcome here. Oh my god, the net is having quite the fun. That should be alright. Not necessarily doing anything optimal for this level in terms of like strats to clear stuff and whatnot. It's normally, if you're just trying to do a farming run, in this case to get the currency in this game that you'd want to use and build up to make weapons, buy stuff in an auction house, all that sort of stuff in this game. So there is that back in the main hub of this area, which is the town square in Haven, which you'll probably see later on. You normally just do this as a farming run and sort of go through everything and clear everything. Also, feel free to let me know if things aren't recording or not recording probably if they're not picking up properly on the stream. I'm not 100% sure. Seems like everything was getting picked up. All that sort of stuff. In terms of what these streams intended to be, it's just going to be me playing whatever games and just... That's about it. Not really any direction for like specific games or putting myself into specific niches or anything. Just a thing to have fun. And just sort of... It's up with the people that end up popping it. That's about it, really. Could be a very boring stream, whatnot, but not really too much of a problem for me. Because I just do what I find fun. And I don't mind recording, I don't mind streaming. But it's nice to get the dynamic of chatting to, you know, the people that come in and say hi. I hope the chat stuff is actually working, because I haven't popped in and seen if things actually work correctly or not, but everything should be working with overlays and stuff. I'll probably check in a second when I'm not in the middle of combat. There we go. Nice. easy clears. Gonna check one thing with the chat here. Hopefully it should show up. I'll have to do this. Gonna have to reopen. I don't know if that picked up on the stream or not. Let's see. Oh, okay, it did. Cool. Nice, nice, nice. Definitely not the professional streamer mans like any other channel. Everything's very much all over the place, but things should be good. I should probably have the actual overlay this so I can see what's happening. There we go. Yeah, I finally bothered to actually show the chat and have that set up because I think, and back in the videos I did not have those, so don't know anything. I was very much lazy when it came to setting up anything for the stream, so we finally got that sorted, and we have alerts for new followers and stuff, so it should be more interactable in the sense that you actually see when things happen, not if I end up missing it or wanting it out sort of thing, so that should be nice. Also haven't played this in a while, so I may be a little bit washed with my quick switching and dodging and stuff. But game is not too hard overall, in my opinion. At least once you get used to the mechanics and stuff, because the mechanics are very nice in this game in terms of how things work, how the weapons and stuff are. You probably won't see most of the weapon types being shown, at least with me, because I like to be a gunner most of the time, because I like that sort of gameplay the most and whatnot, but there's also swords and bombs that you can also use that have their own unique effects, unique charge attacks, which are like the secondary attack to this base attack thing that you normally do. Like that there. Don't know if it showed properly because I kind of just sat inside all of them, but yeah. Good. It would be easy if I had you just a little bit into that. Just a little. Or at least more consistent. I mean, I could probably close some stuff, you know. Let's do that. Let's not be silly and have this lag continue going. Yeah, I have some things we don't have to really open unless need be. There we go. Nice, nice, nice. Alrighty. As you can see, we're very professional. Oh god. Yeah. Nice and easy. Also, this game is a very much it doesn't do well with its advertising in the sense of it barely really advertises at all with this game, so in terms of the player count and player base, it is very small, like very much a niche, if you will, with the advertising. Like the average player count, if I'm not mistaken, majority of the time is only like sitting in like the mid hundreds, like 200s. Sometimes it'll peak when there's like a really cool event going on, but at the moment I think there's nothing going on if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Yeah, currently very much a cooldown from no events going on at the current moment. Yeah. Sorry if I'm also not explaining much with this game or anything. My brain is very much half on, as opposed to it being wired and everything, so I do apologize if I'm not explaining stuff properly, or even just like, for anyone that's new, never seen this game, and like, what is this and what is happening and what is going on? I hope like things are at least a bit more kind of self-explanatory of what's going on, I guess. Bunch of enemies and all that stuff. These rooms are like stages. Well, not rooms, stages. Well, the whole entire floor is a stage, if you will, but just clearing out rooms that have certain requisite conditions to complete the rooms. This specific level in this stage is a sprite collecting zone. So essentially there's 8 rooms, and you only need 6 to clear in order to proceed to the end of this stage, essentially. And oh my, that is a big spike. Isn't that fun? And the servers have been getting much better with the sort of resurgence of updates that came to this game. Because this game, for the majority of the time it's been active, it stopped getting updates like for around a fair chunk of years of just rerunning cosmetic stuff in this, but the devs have finally come back to this game, realized it still exists, and yeah, it's been riding a sort of high, if you will, in terms of games actually you know, getting active updates, they're making changes and stuff, they have plans and a whole entire roadmap of at least things they want to implement or add back in or change in the future. As to when those things will be happening, that's a completely different thing, because they don't really, with like how the game was previously with their updates and stuff, it's kind of very hard to predict when they'll do that sort of thing, so yeah, that is also a whole lot of fun with that. I do not like that type of enemy though, those little slimes. One of my least favorite, because there's a certain set of sprites, which is like the little companion that's been flying around for me that you can pick, and one of their abilities is to go invisible, but those enemies will still chase you even if you're invisible. Like, they'll still know where you are. They won't attack, but it gets annoying because they spread little oil bits on the floor, which can catch on fire. Which, if you're either on fire or enemies set it to fire, can be very annoying. So the status effects of fire, just getting the ticks over time, can be bad if you don't have good resistances to those element types and stuff. Doing a horrible job explaining, but I hope, at least by watching, you can sort of gather stuff. At the very least. And I hope everything is equalized well enough as well on the stream. Not sure if it's been... Oh, I'm an idiot. I had that disabled. Okay. Well, I am done. Well, this is definitely going to be a whole lot of fun, because I forgot to turn on the desktop audio, so you probably didn't catch those tracks. I don't know if anything is looping or not. Actually, let me check again. God, this is such a mess. Alright, let's see. If we go to this. You're a good streamer, you know. God. Okay, yep. Okay, let's see. Okay. Maybe I do need to have that off, actually. Hold on. Okay, I think it's fine. You know what, let's... This is not the greatest reference to check. I'm gonna have to check another way too. Sorry if this is very scuffed. Let's see. Very scuffed. Okay, no, everything is fine. I panicked for no reason. Jesus. Alrighty. Nope. Oh, it's a bot. Let's not entertain that. How do I... God, I am not good at this. I guess it's better to have this on my phone, maybe? Let's see. How do I... do if there's a way to remove the delete. 'Cause Jesus, I've never really done this outside of being just a rookie streamer here. How do I? God, I suck at moderating this. Let's see, let's see. You know, it might be easy to actually just look at my phone. Oh god, it's such a mess. Yeah, let's just open the dashboard here. Can I route it this way, maybe? Let's see. Oh, didn't update it. Okay. Alright. Yes, that's just gonna sit there. Because I cannot, for some reason, edit or modify. My chat in any way. God, I suck at streaming. Hold on. This is such a mess. Let's see. I guess that's, there we go, there we go. Perfect. Alrighty. Okay, now you got it, oh my god. This is such a mess. Alright, okay. Cool, 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 everything's working just fine. Definitely not the biggest, okay. Alright, cool, cool, cool. Alright, at least that fixes that. Close that. Alrighty. Definitely no hiccups or anything. My god. I lost my train of thought as well. Isn't that great? Do you remember what I was yapping about? That's probably some incoherent nothing anyway. That's right, I was talking about what this stage is essentially in this level here, which is the, I guess the like, what the, I can't even speak anymore. The last boss you end up fighting in this game also has bosses as well. 4 main ones, which this one is one of them, and there's a unique variant of each one, which potentially I may showcase in this one, maybe not, just how much of a mess this has been, but who knows. We'll see if I what we end up doing. Oh neat, okay, we got lucky here, because in this early part of this stage here, it either spawns like this totem here, which you need to use to put on the plate to go ahead. It's either spawns on the right or left. Luckily, we got the correct choice there. It saves a bit of time, even though I went back to explain, which kind of removes the whole purpose, but what can you do? Alright. Oh, okay. I feel like I'm such a rookie with quick switching sometimes. Mechanic that is very much a vital one in this game specifically because it increases the DPS like crazy, but you very much have to have the optimal binds, otherwise this will be essentially an RSI simulator. But it is very fun, which is why I love using guns the most, because the quick switching is so satisfying to do, even if I fumble or not. Nice and easy. These Trojans have a few attacks they can do, whether they just rush you or they rush into a slam. And you can essentially just bait the AI pretty easily to make sure it swings without hitting you. Which I hope I've demonstrated properly. Alrighty. Oh my god. Ooh, lag. Well, I guess we may die here. Yep. Got a lot of lag spike. Isn't that great? Here we go. Nice and easy. Even if we fumbled a few things, should be fine. fun little neat thing with this gun as well, you may have noticed, is it's the only one that does screen shakes on each actual explosion as well. It's also a broken one, which I can potentially show one of the broken parts of it later in this level. Should be nice to show off. Let's see. Don't know why I'm gonna end up titling this the comeback stream to maybe some consistency. Who knows? Very much a mess getting this all set up again. But what can you do? Also, since the last stream as well, in the past 2 years since I streamed, I've also gotten a new PC, so in terms of games that we can run and actually play, that will not be a problem anymore, which is really nice. I hope the quality as well, in turn, has made this look nicer. I know for the VODs it should be nice, but I'm not sure how well it does with the streaming, because again, Aussie net, this bitrate may be very much chopped. I am not 100% sure. Oh, I'm an idiot. Also forgot that attack there. So when you stay close to them for a long while, they do a little shock. Anywhere around them, you'll get hit, and then you'll get inflicted a shock, which will tick every few seconds, and it will stop your movements. Or if you have your shield out, it'll just hit your shield, which won't make you take any damage. Oh neat, an orb as well. Looks like our luck's doing pretty good as well. There with drops and stuff, even though I don't really need them, because if I look at my inventory, don't think we need them. Yeah, I got 122. And I've got basically all the weapons I plan to craft, at least at this stage in playing the game. So I have a fair chunk of hours. Not as much as some people who play this, but I've got a fair amount. This is by far the easiest part of the stage, where it just summons these hordes of 5 zombies that just continually spawn until you clear them all out. Don't remember the exact amount of spawns or waves they have, but generally it doesn't take long at all, and it's pretty easy to do everything. As you can see, they're not really much of a threat, not really doing anything. Very basic enemy type with a few attacks. There's some unique ones where they can grab onto you and like continually bite you, but for the most part, pretty easy to navigate and essentially just avoid for the most part. It's only a problem when it comes to taking hits and stuff when they combine them with other enemies that make things harder to navigate. Because this is a bullet hell. So having good net and obviously being able to distinguish stuff is very important for dodging and stuff. There is one certain enemy that with one of their attacks, their quills, which are like little spike things, for some reason they didn't add any like highlights or anything like the rest of the bullets that enemies do, or enemies shoot depending on which enemy it is, because they have like a thing where they add an element that's very dark and an element that's very light, and they contrast it with like a little border, so it's very easy to see and very easy to navigate and dodge. But the other ones don't follow that sort of design principle, so it is interesting to say the least. Alrighty. This stage will be more of the same with a bunch of arenas to go through essentially. I almost missed a little secret. I almost made a rookie mistake there, because this little bit there, little box, reveals a button, which at the end of this stage we can show what that button actually did for us, which will be neat. I hope the clicking and stuff isn't too loud on my mouse and stuff, because I don't have any EQ done like I used to. I used to have actual EQ set up properly, but for some reason, at least with the app I used to use, the software that I used to run to have it work with my EQ and not once I get cut out background noise. I don't know why I can't think of how to structure a sentence apparently. It was very easy to do, but now at this point is a bit of a mess. I'll have to look into if I do want to just cut out background noise and stuff, use a different software that's not a mess to use. Because at least from the stuff that I've looked at with options that are widely used, that are very popular, for my mic specifically, or just my setup, it doesn't really work too well. So I don't really plan on trying to navigate that mess, at least at this moment, because it doesn't seem to be much of an issue. And if I really need to worry about that, I can do EQ, at least in the VODs. Not on the stream, unfortunately, because obviously can't really do the live EQ thing, but I can do it after the fact. But that'll depend on how bothered I am to work on the VODs in terms of all that stuff, because the only, I guess, code editing I'll be doing is, if I do plan to do it the structure I did last time, I'll add timestamps for parts of the stream and what's happening, just so you can skip the parts that you find interesting and whatnot, like we did with the Terraria ones, but it very much is a basis of how bothered am I to edit things and not. So it's we'll see for the most part. These walls are very fun because in this tier, because they also have each enemy has its own tier in the sense of how far through the game you are, and depending on the stage, you'll have certain tiered enemies. Since this is the end game, all these enemies are tier 3 variants of the enemies, so they'll have either unique traits or different attacks. For these Trojans, they pretty much stay the same, if I'm not mistaken, throughout all the tiers. They have the same attacks. These ones, these are called Wolvers, have different attacks, as they're based tier 1 ones don't teleport like that, and they don't sneak up, and they don't dodge. They're very much the basic variant of, or the most basic form of what they could do, essentially, which is just they come at you, and they try to bite you. And that's really it. And they have a little like claw thing, which doesn't really do anything, so it's more like a idle animation, if you will. I'll make sure to run through the arcade, so hopefully if we come across those variants, you'll see the difference in what they can do, what they can't, essentially. Definitely not doing this optimally. That's fine. I also normally run this with a different setup just to make certain parts like that one easier to clear and stuff, because as you can see with the way the gun shoots, how it has like a little orbit around it, it'll hit certain hitboxes when other things, like other guns, would normally not do that, so I normally have a different weapon that normally makes it easier to clear certain obstacles like those wheels. Oh my. Again with the internet, it's always fun. Oh, and I'm an idiot. Well, that's great. I'll have to run back down. Alright, yeah. Nice. Run back up, and grab the totem, and get to the last arena of this stage. It should be very easy to clear, as the rest of this level is, at least nowadays, with the amount of playtime and whatnot. Obviously, if you're new to the game, it's not like this at the end. If you play through at least of the main story stages, because you can replay these stages, and this game doesn't really have a definitive end in terms of your gameplay, because you can always run other modes and stuff. In terms of the story, this is like getting very close to the end. Potentially in the future there may be more stages that the devs will add, but that'll be a question of if we end up getting to that point or not, because these devs are very unpredictable. Like, even adding servers for my region is very much this would never happen. Like, it took them 11 years to finally add more servers than the base 2 they had for the majority of this game, which this game's been out for, I think, around like 15 to 16 years at this point. Or 14 to 15, not 16. It's been quite a long time. I don't know if there's any goals, at least I would have in this game as well. Don't really have anything because I pretty much have all the stuff I would need, but nothing to really upgrade. It's essentially just getting like peak stuff for the weapons I do have. Is just more of a thing that maybe I'll pursue it in doing, so I probably would have to grind a bit or just never really do it because I'm content with the gear I got. Don't really need to mid-max anything else or upgrade to anything else in the world I currently got. Because everything is essentially the best it can be for the moment. Only slight improvements if we were to get the proper max stuff. Which I can show what I mean after this arena's done. There we go. Because if we click tab here, essentially there's a max for these certain stats, and normally the ones that are most important, which are the charge time and the attack speed, is either at the before it's maxed out is at ultra, and then maximum is the max for what you can have it for those sort of stats. And ultra and maximum are pretty much like, it's very slight in the difference between how good it is in terms of like the attack speed itself with how fast you can shoot and switch, and your charge time, which is how long it takes to charge up this attack, which is you're holding down secondary. But essentially, I have it to the point where the one that is important, which is the attack speed for the quick switching, I already got to its maximum via the trinkets here, and the charge time with just the unique variants that are on the weapons that I have, which I can quickly show. That's about as well. Once we are back into a menu where we can open that again, which is these little highlighted yellow ones are the unique variants there. My piss poor explaining hopefully is understandable enough. Who knows? When I look back and listen to this, I'm gonna cringe myself to sleep. Oh my god. The incoherence and the mess, especially at the start of this. My god. In the future, it'll be much more cleaned up and much more less of a, what am I doing and where am I sort of thing, but yeah. An organization, at least this current moment, is a bit of a mess. Because I had to set up a lot of stuff beforehand to at least finally have this stream coherent again. And I'm not gonna get this in one cycle, so we'll continue to be what am I saying? Continue to be active, yeah. Because this boss works in a way of you do enough damage, it'll go into this mask phase here where you get these water bits to damage it, and then once you can damage it enough, it'll go back and retreat to its little place there. Certain strategies you can do to make these things easier, like clipping through his body to where you can do max amount of damage, not worry about the flying flame balls around him. You essentially get to cheese this sort of parts as long as you line it up properly. You can do that as well, this little charge which will knock you out, but you essentially charge attack enough and fast enough to where he doesn't really do that. At least if you're going for optimal clear times and not having to worry about extra attacks. In this phase now, which I'm surprised they're not spawning. Oh, there we go, here it is there. When he does that little slam, it actually rains down fire blocks, which you have to put out with the little waters as well to avoid. Which is neat as a mechanic. Adds a little bit of difficulty, but sometimes, depending on where it lands, it can soft lock you in a way. But you have to be very careful about that. That's pretty much it. Oh, just enough. Okay, if I got charge time max, that would have been enough to go and full clear this part of the phase and not have to do another cycle of using the water and then let's not die, but we should be good. So if I chuck this, there we go. Nice. Then I can pop this again, do the same sort of thing, make sure to dodge the flame, and make sure that this next phase here, the last one, is nice and easy. Got most of the timings down when it comes to when to charge attack and when not to, and like the sort of when to release to make sure to lose the least amount of time. So I've played this too much, but I'm a bit rusty. As you can see, I'm taking a bit of dumb hits here and there, not setting up in the correct spots. Which I hope is apparent, at least to see. So I'm not sure how much of this game is you do need to explain for you to sort of understand sort of thing by watching. Because at least when I played this, they teach you the basics very easily, and it's just sort of tutorial stages, and like the mechanics and stuff it introduced and like the way to play the game has been very much easy to pick up on. But at least to know how to progress and like the most efficient ways to progress, that's when it becomes a thing of, oh, maybe you need to ask people and check around with that. Because this game is another one where it has too much of a tutorial like in your face, like how to do this, how to do that. It had like those sorts of aspects for some things in the game, like the battle sprites, which is like the little companion that's been flying around me the entire time. But for the most part, it's very much a show, not tell philosophy, which I do respect way more in games, because you know it treats the player that plays the game like they actually have a brain, and not they're like an infant child that can't really function. So that's nice. Other than that, yeah. We are back in Haven. That's cool. So now I can show the main hub, which is where the quote MMO aspect is, where you can have a unlimited number of players. Well, not really unlimited, but whatever the service can really handle. But this is like the MMO part with a massive multiplayer online sort of thing. This is the little auction house where you can just buy player traded stuff. Well, unfortunately, that is not good enough to be worth buying for me, but yeah, I don't really need anything there. Alrighty, let's do like probably like one run of the arcade, and I think I'll probably end stream for now. My brain's kind of out of it. I just wanted to sort of test and, you know, come back to this because I do miss streaming, and it's nice to be back. Let's see, what gate do we want to do? What's the most chill? I guess we'll still with this one. Maybe what's the Phantom one look like? Phantom one, we just did the same sort of boss there. Let's do this one. Also, sorry if the commentary is a bit of a mess, because I genuinely don't know what to talk about. It's kind of late, at least for me, and my brain is kind of like empty with things to talk about and mention. It's much easier with games like Terraria where you can just talk about the gameplay, talk about the sort of goals, what to do for the progression and stuff. With this stuff like this, where I'm already at the sort of end, there's not really much to really mention or I guess talk about, unless like it's someone new asking questions and stuff, and it's easier then to, you know, actually bounce off and then answer that sort of stuff. But yeah, pretty neat. This game, I can say. And this thing I'm doing right now, the arcade, is essentially just a little like roulette, not really roulette. It'll have a random set bit of stages that I can pick from, and then from there, it's just a little thing where you go from tier 1 to tier 3 with the difficulties, and then you reach the end. And we'll just have a random bit of stages throughout the whole entire thing. There's no like set, like when you do this level, there's these stages and this thing, this sort of set way sort of thing. It's all gonna be just a random sort of bit of things. Very much just a cruise through what the game has to offer, essentially. Man, my commentary is a buzz, but nice to be back. These gates here, these are all danger, are they called danger zones here? Danger rooms. where essentially they upscale the difficulty by like 1, and then they have their own little custom assortment of enemies for you to face. And then you get a bunch of loot afterwards once you clear them, which is nice. Obviously it scales up with the difficulties and the tiers when you get to those sorts of depths. Not really stages in this, but, well, it is stages, but they call it depths in here. Like each stage is another depth down when you reach the next sort of tiering and stuff. More unique attacks and all that sort of thing will make these sorts of room layouts more difficult to handle, essentially. They also do cap the amount of damage you do as well, because if you did the amount of damage you did in tier 3 and tier 1, you kind of like one-shot everything with the weapons that you end up getting with the starring system they do, because this game, as opposed to other ones, you don't level your character, but you level the gear you have, and with the stages you clear in the main story allows you to use stronger gear at certain points when you get to those like thresholds, and once you clear them, essentially you're able to use better stuff. And the gear I'm using is obviously going to be the max, the 5-star gear. It'll be very rare when I choose to use lower tier stuff. And that... So yeah, that's why everything is kind of just dying immediately. If this was the same, like tier 3 and then this sort of stuff, they would have a lot more health and it would take more time. And be more difficult to worry about with that sort of stuff. Like as opposed to the other floor as well. Well, not the other floor, the other stage we were doing. Other level. Notice these enemies are much more easy to remove, dodge around, and kill, so... Yeah, I hope that's a bit apparent there. Definitely feel my voice going away slowly. Jesus. Sweet. Now that is done. And now we get a whole bunch of riches for us to collect. Nice and easy. I guess I can open up the party as well if other people on end up seeing this and want to join. No reason not to. The max amount of players you can have in this stage as well, not in the stage, when you're clearing these levels and doing the actual gameplay aspect of this, and not just chilling in the main hub area, just essentially just a little zone to chat, sell your stuff and whatnot, is 4 players in total, including yourself. So it's like a little squad thing where you have a bunch of friends that you go with clear stages and whatnot. Obviously you can do it solo, do it whatever you like, doesn't really have any restrictions there. In terms of dying in this game too, there's no real consequence besides having to use a certain item to revive yourself, and if you don't have that item, once you die and use up the emergency revive, which is that little revive there, that little heart on the top left, which you've seen activate a few times now I think from me dying, is the emergency revive, which you only have 1 of, and then if you don't have any of the currency to revive yourself, which is the sparks of life, that'll mean you have to restart the stage essentially. There's not really too much of a consequence for dying in this game. It's not like you lose all your gear and you know you have to restart from a certain point or something. You just have to restart the stage. There's not really much of a consequence for that. My brain's already all tugged out from things to talk about. There's not much I can really think about on top of my head to mention at this sort of point. Other than that, obviously, if anyone that comes in, feel free to say hi. As the streaming format is, I'm always happy to chat and all that sort of stuff. next stage will have for us now. If there were events going on at the moment, which there currently aren't any, at least any of note, I don't think. It might be one or not, I'm not sure. Because they have like few seasonal ones where they change up the floors of the arcade to include special stages, which are stuff from the events, but there shouldn't be anything going on, so there shouldn't be really much interest in terms of unique stuff that we could potentially see. Nice. It's always fun to run arcades every now and then. Because at least with Spiral Knights, it's a sort of game to where, at least for me, whenever I essentially get the goal that I was aiming to do, whether it's getting certain cosmetics, certain items, certain weapons, whatnot, clearing certain things. At least for me, whenever it's like you've completed that sort of goal, it's hard to find a reason to play the game unless just to enjoy what the game has to offer with the mechanics and stuff like that. Which is always fun to come back to every now and then, because I don't play this too often nowadays. But the game is always a fun little trip to go down. And all that stuff. In terms of what I plan on playing on the next stream that I end up doing, I don't know when that will be, maybe whether it be this week or next week. We'll end up seeing. If there is any suggestions, feel free to either let me know in the chat in terms of anything that interests you for games that you may want to see me play, or when the VOD gets uploaded, because I do have my YouTube links to it, you can let me know down in the comments. Because I don't mind giving a look and giving it a try if it interests me. Because I don't really have a like specific genre that I care to play or only will play sort of thing. It's like, if it's cool, I'll go check it out, see how it looks. And, you know, if it piques my interest, I'll give it a shot, see how that goes. Very much not really picky when it comes to games, as long as it's cool and interesting. One thing I could definitely say with this game is if you're playing this for a long while with the quick switching and stuff, doing it a lot, you definitely start feeling it over time if you don't give yourself any breaks. So something that's very important with this game specifically is making sure your keybinds are one more fixed to, like, it's easier to use in terms of the keybinds, easier to press, easier to reach, whatnot. Because some of these keybinds in this game aren't really optimized. I mean, for obvious reasons, I think in most games you end up having to change something with the keybinds generally, because it's like, this button is either inconvenient or you can have it somewhere set to like maybe a mouse or something. But making sure your weapon switching in terms of what you have them set to for keybinds is very important. Just so, one, you can do the quick switching and other techniques in this game, and that it doesn't kind of destroy your hand. Because obviously you don't want to, you know, get soreness and all that sort of stuff and develop problems from playing a game. Sorry, something you'd want to avoid. At the very least. Yeah, nice. Another stage is clear. Another danger room. Not sure if this, if the music is too loud or not. Actually, I might lower just a little bit, because I think it might be too loud. Okay, it should be a little bit better, I think. Can't really tell if I changed it too much. I think I may have lowered it. Not sure. Should be fine. I hope everything's been mixed properly in terms of things not being super loud and stuff. At least I hope. And now we got the always fun run back. Whenever you go clear something, forget about one tiny little bit of loot and you have to loot all your way around. Always fun. In some games, it can definitely up the ante in terms of the theatrics. Potential difficulty or preconceived difficulty, because it's obviously like a thing that makes you waste time, which in a sense makes it feel more difficult. Because I know in some games, especially like Souls-like, they do like to have their run-backs when you die to up the ante, make it feel like it's more arduous than it actually is. Can sometimes ruin flow of things as well, because like you have to run back to get back into the fight sort of thing. So at least for me, that is a bit annoying when you have to do that run back. When you die, let's say, from fighting a boss, they have like the spawn point really far back and you have to make your run back all the way. And it ruins the flow. It's a bit of a little mix-up in a way. But what can you do? Just have to get used to them. Got to grab this whole bit of loot here. There's nothing that I actually need from any of this. So I kind of like, I don't really have a good direction to really talk about or anything. That's like, at this point in the game, I just run it to display it mindlessly, not really think. Oh, we got an orb there. That's nice. It's pretty uncommon to come across, at least as a general drop. They're a little rare. Not too rare though. You end up coming across a bunch every now and then when you play. Oh, you're just sliding away. Fun little thing with this gun as well. The ones that will orbit around and come back to you. They have a unique little quirk where when you shoot, not when you shoot, actually no, yeah, when you shoot, it doesn't, like the AI doesn't know how to respond to it, like it doesn't know how to function with it coming up through, so like they just kind of just like shift around, like they don't actually dodge or out of the way and stuff like actual weapons do, like when actual like proper guns, like let's say I'll shoot him there, oh, when he doesn't die immediately, but normally they try to dodge around, essentially, at least these guys, they're very mobile, but they kind of they treat these projectiles not like the standard gun ones, so they kind of just, they're there. They just like bounce around. Hold on. Oh, I don't know, I guess that works too. Actually, I guess I can show a little fun thing you can do with this weapon. You can hit it through walls as well. It's a little charge attack. Here's another broken aspect of this weapon specifically, or these two, with the blue and the fire one projectiles there. Their charge attack can go through walls, only like half a block through, but it's enough to where it can do things like that. Which is always fun. In some stages too, you can soft lock yourself as well by doing that, which you have to be careful on, obviously, but it's a very, very rare few select bit of stages where you can accidentally soft lock by doing those sorts of breaks where you essentially, you get somewhere or you get through something without doing the standard way of doing it. Like this one, there's no real consequence if you go through from that side, but It's generally easier and more cohesive to just go the normal route when it comes to clearing for this little part here. Because you need to kill all the enemies and trigger all the spawns and stuff. Well, you have to kill all the turrets that are around here, these little guys here. But you do need to trigger the correct enemies and get the switches properly. Which, if you do miss, makes you have to do a whole lot of moving and running around. Which you don't really need to do. Unless you want to save time. And I guess a headache, if you will. Now, I'll open the little main thing there, and there'll be a bunch of enemies that spawn here too. The little main bit. Nice and easy. Very easy. I mean, considering we're at the tier 1, it's not going to really be hard at all, but yeah. This game is very much a nice chill thing where it's like you don't really have to think about it too much. You just go through, kill a bunch of enemies, collect a bunch of loot, and just continue on, essentially. So if there's a bit of dead space where I'm not really talking over anything to talk about, I do apologize. I'm not sure if that makes it less entertaining, more entertaining, or what not, because I can't think of what to really talk about a lot of the time, yeah. As you may have noticed. But yeah, for anyone that pops into the chat, feel free to say hi. I'm always, happy to chat, talk, and all that sort of stuff. And whatnot. So the whole part of streaming is interacting with the viewers that pop in and all that sort of stuff. Nice. Definitely be careful a little bit. Because they have enough health to where I kind of have to worry about not playing too stupid. Because it would be silly to die in places like this. I don't need to. Taking unnecessary damage. Oh, we are doing just fine. Oh, did I miss an enemy? Oh, I did. Hello. Nice. Oh, one more wave. Then we get a bunch of goodies. Oh, there you go. You can see the... Now we've gone up enough to where we can see the difference here enemy. Because that specific little gun puppy there, which is what they're called, the little turrets, they did what the second tier of turrets can do, which they, instead of shooting just one, they shoot in 3. Really need to get a better weapon to deal with those guys. I'm using a gun that's good, but it's not the biggest hard hitter in terms of clearing these guys really quickly. There we go, nice and easy. I hope the music's alright as well, because I picked something nice and chill in terms of the sort of theme of the music at the moment, because this is very much a laid back stream as opposed to anything that's high octane. And now we gotta come across the little town, so just like a little rest point, if you will, where you can get like unique recipes that don't show up in the other areas where you'd normally be able to get them anywhere. Which is pretty neat from this little next bit here. Which you talk to that guy over there and he'll be selling some unique stuff. It's always random with what he can sell. That's where you get all the more unique recipes that don't show up in the main areas you get them. Which of places like the Hall of Heroes and stuff, which if you end up playing the game, you'll come across at some point and know what I'm talking about. But yeah, that's completely new. Obviously, none of this is gonna make any sense. And I forgot to change the weapons to use a better one for clearing the shadow enemies, which are like the slimes and the little gremlin guys that have like the axes and the healing stuff and the flamethrowers. Which we'll probably do in the next stage if we remember. Honestly, I think I may actually call it after this stage anyway, because my brain is very much becoming more and more empty and I cannot think of anything. It's getting to that point of tiredness where it's like, can't really think of much. So the fun thing about arcades is they also do have like unique like structure and area bits in the stage that aren't like event specific, but just like RNG specific. Like this little place here is a more unique little spawn, which you don't really come across too often. Which is pretty nice. It's a nice thing to slice up the arcade thing, which you can completely rerun forever, which adds a little bit of variety. Like, oh, maybe you can see something cool, something that you don't come across often. Not enemy-wise though. The enemies are still generally same to like the theming of the stage. Like this one's more themed around the wolvers and stuff. The more common to just see a bunch of these guys. It's rare you'll see like all the enemies. Like that little turret section at the start, you don't normally come across, but this is like a wolver stage entirely, where you'll see the wolvers. There's like some bigger wolvers which you'll probably see right after we clear this wave, which have more unique attacks than these little basic ones. And then some healers, which are little butterfly things, like these ones here. Nice and easy. Didn't really get the chance to even show off anything, because you gotta die very quick, but you get the idea. At least I hope. I hope my explaining is not too botched to make things so incoherent that it is impossible to understand. Man, my quick switching is horrible. Should be switching this better. There we go. Nice and simple. Obviously there is like game music to this, but I do tend to play this with just the sound effects. So I do apologize if it kind of feels weird with just the music and there's nothing else, because there is actual tracks to each like of these stages that are unique, and they're pretty good. You know, I guess we'll leave this as our last stage. Not this stage, but the next stage is next, because we got a little question mark. A little bit of mystery to what the next stage could be, because it has a few options you can pick. You can either pick a normal stage. Ooh, we got the treasure trove, which is the one we do want to see. This is just like a completely fun little loot, unique stage that you get that's just centered around the currency, which are crowns. Getting a whole bunch of them, a bunch of boxes where you get things like crowns and stuff like that. And it's just all around fun. It has like a little its own jingle as well, which I have it muted, but I mean, I guess I can have it play if it's not too loud. Let's see. There we go. It's a nice, unique little jingle. I'll have it off for now. Maybe in other streams I'll keep it on and actually moderate the volume so it's not too loud and stuff or overpowers anything. Because the issue I have with this game is it doesn't equalize its volume too well, and I'll have to actually take some time to adjust it. Which is a whole lot of fun. Like stuff like that is like, yeah, it's not. Obviously that in that case they just peaked there, but This game does have like its moments where like some volume bits are just for some reason way louder than others. For some reason, it just wasn't like mixed properly. For whatever reason, or at least equalized properly, I should say. Because the mixing stuff isn't the issue. It's more of just for some reason they have that just turned up way up compared to everything else for who knows what reason. We'll never know. So at least the original devs that made this game don't actually work on this game anymore. They have left long since. Oh. It's actually worth to do now, because they got just enough crown drops there to equalize. It costs 3 energy, but they generally cost like 40 to 50 crowns per little energy thing, which is like these little doodads in the air. This little bit there. Yeah, generally they're not worth opening unless you're doing things like the danger rooms there, because you get enough crowns to warrant clearing them. But in this case, I've got enough currency and I've got enough of everything where it doesn't really matter. And yeah, I guess we'll call it here. And it was a very discombobulating stream, no real directional goal in mind, but it's nice to be back. Hopefully in the future we'll be more consistent with this sort of stuff. But hey, that'll be for me to end up thinking about and making sure to try to stick to it at least. So yeah, if you enjoyed the VOD, enjoyed the stream, be sure to like, comment, and give a sub. If you didn't like, make sure to dislike it there as well. And hopefully we can be more consistent, so there can be more than just this. So yeah, I'll see you guys next time.